my fellow contemplative friends and leaders. It's a beautiful Friday morning here and bright and sunny, but cool and crisp in the fall here in St. Louis, so good to be with you all. So I want to talk today about about coherence, and I posed that question, are you coherent or incoherent? And of course, we know that word in common language of like, if you're coherent, you kind of make sense, you kind of follow in a logical path, or if you're incoherent, it's like, oh, something might be off. Well, it turns out, as I'm in my second week of this training through the HeartMath Institute to become a certified coach to use the tools, so I'll show you a little bit more of that in a second, but there's a sensor that measures your level of coherence, and it's based on heart rate variability. I'm not going to go into all the details, but some of you may have heard of heart rate variability. It's considered one of the best measurements of overall health that we can get from a physiological perspective from a lot of different disciplines. And so this little gadget paired with your phone, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second, shows you how high or low your level of coherence is. Now, coherence, they're using here in a more scientific way, I guess. And here's how the HeartMath Institute defines coherence. They describe it as an optimal state in which the heart, the mind, and the emotions are aligned and in sync. And then they know from over 400 published research studies over the years, over I think 25 years, that in a physiological sense, the immune system, your hormone system, and your nervous system all are functioning in a state of energetic coordination. That's how they talk about it. So the way I often talk about it in Centering for Wisdom is alignment. And coherence is very similar to that idea of alignment, where you are kind of single-mindedly focused on your highest goal or your highest good for your life, and then you're aligned with that through your mind, your heart, and your emotions. So let me show you a couple pictures. They talk about when you're in a more frustrated or what we might call a negative emotion, but I kind of want to get away from negative and positive and think about it just in terms of the effect that they have on us. But traditionally, we categorize our emotions that way, that your heart rate variability kind of moves all over the place and is very inconsistent. It's incoherent. But when you are in that coherent state, you're aligned, you've been doing your daily centering prayer and meditation practice, along with the short practices that I'll talk about in a second that you can pepper throughout your day, then your heart rate variability starts to stay very consistent across a graph. And here's an example from the course that I'm taking right now. So, I gotta go that way. So you can see on this side, that side, it's reversing on me. Right, this is a person who is incoherent and their heart rate variability is moving all over the place. And then after shifting and doing a quick coherence practice, it starts to look a little more smooth and a little more regular. So I'll show you another example here. This is actually a practice that I did yesterday, and this is what it looks like on the app. Oh, there we go, sorry. It's all reversed on me here. So you can see there are different levels in that purple in the upper corner there. Everything's backwards. This is really hard to do. So you can take the challenge level up or down, start at the easy level. And then it shows you red is incoherent, medium is doing all right, and then green is high coherence. So you can see yesterday I did this for about 3.5 minutes. My average coherence was 5.4, and you can see it started. I think I was doing this at the end of the day. I was tired. I was a little stressed after the workday. So I started actually in the red and then moved into the blue, and doing the practice of focusing in the heart moved up into that high realm for the rest of the practice. And then you can also see down here, let's see if I can do this, right, that smoothness of the graph. This is really incredibly hard to do, but that's what it looked like over the 3.5 minutes. Kind of cool. And you can track your progress. You can increase the difficulty as you go, as you learn to shift into that coherent state more quickly when you're on the go. So one of the things that I also find kind of cool about bringing this into Centering for Wisdom, in the centering prayer and meditation tradition, we talk about heartfulness. It's kind of a term that some of us have started to use as an alternative to just mindfulness. Nothing against mindfulness. But heartfulness has this emphasis on putting our attention in the heart. Place the mind in the heart is a phrase that we use. So it turns out, scientifically, so this is based on some ancient texts in the Christian contemplative tradition about placing the mind in the heart as this wisdom of those who have practiced in this way. And what's really cool about what HeartMath is doing is that what they've found, and they've tried all the different kinds of things that you can think of, is that the best way to shift from incoherence to coherence is to place your attention in your heart area. And they mean that both in the literal sense, your literal pumping heart, and all the neurons that you have there. There are so many neurological ends in your heart area that some people, some scientists even refer to this as your second brain. And from there, you have all these nerve endings here, not quite as many in your probably main brain, but close, like comparable. It's kind of amazing. And then you have something called the vagus nerve, which runs up into your brainstem, which is that reptilian brain that kind of registers, should I panic or should I be calm? It's kind of, to really break it down, that's what it does. Fight or flight, freeze or faint are the options it gets. So when you're coherent, that vagus nerve, unlike a lot of other nerves that go from we think of it going from the brain out to the body, the vagus nerve actually is going, 80% of those fibers go up, they call it afferent, up from your heart into the brainstem. So when you focus your attention and your breath and a little bit of positive emotion in the area of the heart, that actually sends a message up to your brain and brings it into coherence, as well as telling it like, hey, things are cool, things are calm, things are okay. So there are a lot of benefits to this, and I'm not going to go into all of them right now. Like I said earlier, this has been validated by over 400 scientific studies over the last 20 or plus years. And I would say, perhaps even more importantly, it's validated by what we feel and the people who have tried this, and now I include myself, as I'm in the second week of my training for this. And I'm just going to share a couple things that I've noticed so far. First of all, I find it to be a really wonderful complement to my daily practice of centering prayer and meditation. We sometimes talk about the active prayers that go along with the more contemplative, passive work that we do in centering prayer and meditation. And this is, to me, has become almost how I integrate those active prayers throughout my day. One of the things that they talk about is plugging energy leaks. And I love this idea because I've become a lot more aware, and I kind of knew this before, but it's helped me to tune in at a deeper level and do something about it to break the pattern up, that when we start to shift into even really small, low-level frustration, like, you open your email and you're like, oh, that gut-wrenching feeling of like, how am I going to get through my day? Or it's a frustration maybe in the morning with a spouse or a partner, or with your kids, maybe with your pet, whatever it is. That actually, those low-level things, it's not the big blow-ups that really drain my energy. It's those kind of small daily things that just sit there, and I accept them because it's like we get used to it over time, and it's like, oh, that's just part of who I am. And so they talk about shifting those subtle moments as plugging energy leaks, because when you get into a more coherent state, you are literally using the energy of your body in a more efficient way. So you're extending less physical energy, but also emotional and spiritual energy. So you're able to be in that state and to connect with God or a higher power and have that awareness be with you throughout your day, which of course is the goal of any practice, centering prayer, meditation, or even the HeartMath techniques. So when I do this, I'm finding that I have more consistent energy throughout my day. It's easier to shift when I start to notice that I'm going into these old anxious patterns and habits, and to have these techniques to like come back to center. So again, very, very excellent addition to the Centering for Wisdom program that I have been putting out there for a couple of years now. This, I think, has really taken it to a deeper level. First, not only for me in my own practice, but then what I'll be able to share with you. The last piece I'll mention is that that's kind of cool, is we talk about it as an eyes open practice. Now, you can sit down and do like a short meditation and plug the thing in and get your coherence. And I've done that because I'm curious to see what happens when I do my practice. But really, they talk about it as something we can do with our eyes open. So you could do it while you are in the middle of a meeting. And it's just a subtle awareness of like, oh, I'm getting frustrated with what this person is saying. And you can shift back using the techniques that we teach in the more in-depth program that are very simple, but it's really cool to think, you don't have to step away from your situation, and you learn to do it in that way. So it can work both ways, and I admit sometimes I will sit down for 3 to 5 minutes and close my eyes, but oftentimes I've started doing it while I'm at my computer. Quick break in between meetings, maybe even like running to the bathroom and taking a quick moment to kind of reset. You can do it on the fly, on the run, which is really cool. So those are just a few of the, I could keep going, you can tell, and this is only week 2 of my 8-week program that I'm doing. So as I'm going along, I'm thinking about all the ways to integrate this into the Centering for Wisdom program. I'm going to be creating a brand new webinar. So if you've ever watched my webinar or masterclass before, that'll be coming out once I've kind of integrated all of this into Centering for Wisdom, and a brand new program, a new Centering for Wisdom program that will integrate all of this and keep all the good stuff about centering prayer and meditation and what I talk about as Centering for Wisdom. So stay tuned. I'll be updating you as I keep going. If you have any comments or questions about any of this, you can type it in the chat box below, or you can send me a message on Facebook Messenger as well. All right. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will be talking to you all soon. Okay. Sorry for those of you still watching. I can't figure out how to turn it off. All right. So I'll just close my browser and hope that works. All right. Thanks, everyone.